Happy day, YouTube. My name is John, and this is my channel, The Intermancer. I am continuing my journey of building a genetic algorithm framework. Last episode, I worked on the in-memory repository for scored organisms. Now, as you know, if you've been watching, I'm doing this by trying to immerse myself in a context-driven approach using AI. And I recently switched to using IntelliJ for my IDE, and we're continuing that journey here. Now that we have our scored organism repository, you can see here a couple of episodes ago, I worked on the describing the experiment life cycle. So now we are going to work on implementing that. So let's go here first to the experiment interface, and we can see that it's based on the old version. So here in experiment, I've got the description for experiment life cycle here in experimentation.md. Let's see, evaluator. But this experiment does not match what I'm currently using. You can see right at the beginning I say it's an interface, whereas here it is a class. So I'm going to ask the AI to, using the description in experimentation, rewrite experiment.java. Try that. So you can see my prompt is pretty small because my context is very big. So in the prompt, all I have to do is point to the context file. Generating answer. I'll read it. Thinking. Okay. Now, one of the things it's done is it's just made it an interface that mentions all of the methods with all of the syntax, but gives some Java comment on what it does. So we will simply apply this. Try again. Couldn't apply the snippet. All right, well, let's just copy it and paste it. And scored organism. Oh, that's probably why I couldn't apply it, because it's got some compile errors, maybe, I'm guessing. But we already have the scored organism class, so we'll just add the import, and there we go. Now, right. Let's see, what did we call it? Experiment dimple. Experiment dimple as described in experimentation.md. So now we'll write that. Dependencies. Okay. Still going. So I'm just going to bring this in and then I'll read it. I'm going to go ahead and read the whole thing. I'll try to do that out loud. I haven't been so good about thinking out loud as much as I need to. Okay. All right. Currently open file. New Java class. Experiment impl. Apply. Looks like it's having more success, at least calculating what the diff is. So we'll accept it. Move the chat and start reading. Okay, so first it starts with all the auto wiring. It has it declared as a component. All that's good. Override, seed, defers, mutation cycle, select parents. Okay. Top percentage. So scored organism repository. Is this float percent? Okay, so that's fine. I meant for that to be like an integer. And I'll probably update that at some point. Breeds, mutates. Okay, so the mutation has got this little check here. Probably unnecessary code, but whatever. Doesn't hurt to have that. Evaluate children. Adds those. Maintain repository. By score. Lower is better. Sort based on compared to. So it's definitely assuming 2 parents, 2 children, which is fine. A lot of the code that I've been writing, like the breeding algorithm and the mutation code, assumes any number of organisms. I guess the mutation code assumes 1. But the breeding code definitely assumes any number. But this experiment implementation assumes 2 parents give rise to 2 children, which is as described. Remaining family. Okay, if worst child dot compared to good, it's good getting both the organism repository and the scored organism repository, which is what I wanted. Scored organism. Okay. So it gets the bottom one, compares the best. Okay, so here's a problem. See, it's comparing the best child to the remaining family, but if it replaced the previous one, if it replaced the worst parent, then we know it's going to be replacing that one. So we'll always end up at most with the best parent in one of the children. So let's go back to the AI and say, maintain repository will always preserve the best parent. Here is always preserve the best parent. Here is another implementation. One, add parents and children to a single list and sort. Using two if the top two organisms are the parents, return. 3, if one of the top two organisms is a child, delete the worst parent from the repos and add the child. 4, if both of the top two organisms are the children, delete both parents from the repos and add both children. Rewrite the maintain repository method using this description. Now, this is an excellent example of one of those places where, at least in its current state, AI is simply not as good a developer. Now, I know that AI developers are continuing to improve, and we can expect that eventually AI agents will be better developers than just about everybody, if not every human developer, but we're a ways away from that. Okay, sorts. All right, that's the first, that condition. Okay, sure. It's getting best parent and worst parent. Okay, a little pedantic there, but we'll go for it. Okay. Parents.get compared to parents. Okay, okay. If one of the top two organisms is a child, delete the worst parent. Okay, if one of the top two okay, if you got a parent and a child in either order, then do that. Okay. Okay. Okay, good. This looks better. So let's apply it. See if it does application normal, like, and just replaces this method. Okay, good. It's just replacing the code. And I'm just going to accept all and then read it, because a lot of that gray and green confuses my eyes. Okay, that looks good. Good. All right, now we have the experiment info. Now write a test for okay, let's see. Let's see what it does here. I wonder if there's anywhere I could go to see what my tokens are looking like, but I'm not using my Claude account for this. I'm using my IntelliJ account that's using Claude for this. So we'll see how far I get on the tokens I have. Just maintain repository. Top two. Okay. Okay, it's testing its own boundary conditions. And then test everything. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this in. Experiment input test, right? apply that. Now, I'm not getting too exhaustive with how I test all this because I'm building to a place where I can start building the UI, and then once I have the UI, I'll be able to do a lot of the tests manually a lot more elegantly. So that's kind of where I'm headed. All right. Close this, do the build. Ooh, failed. Test, evaluate children. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, so we have a test failure. Let's go ahead and run this. Confirm that we get the failure in the IDE when we just run the test directly. Okay. So test, evaluate children. So test, evaluate children is failing because it assumes the returned list is in sorted order. Since we have to sort when we call maintain repository, rewrite test, evaluate children so that it does not depend on the order of the children in the returned list. Okay. All I did there was tell it what the problem was. I'm really not trying to give it a new algorithm or tell it what the test will look like. Okay. think it's still depending a little bit on the order here because it's looking for the child based on ID rather than score. But let's apply it and see if it works. See, it's still doing the same thing. The code still depends on the order. Rewrite the test. Making sure that one of the children, either one, has a score of 25 and the other child has a score of 3.7. I find this very interesting because I'm having to go back and forth with the AI on this one single test. So this is one of those cases where you can see that people who use AI in their coding probably aren't as much faster than they think they are. Insert, okay, scores. Okay. Okay, we're gonna get rid of this whole 4 part. So I'm just gonna apply it and then delete that because I'll apply it, I'm gonna run it, it's gonna fail. And then I'm gonna delete that and it'll pass. Where's the compile error it's telling me about? Still gonna fail. With the same problem. Now we're gonna delete this part where it thinks it knows which organism should have which score. And I bet now it'll pass. Ooh. Okay, so now we will debug this. Okay, so child 1, child 2, children, sets up the mock conditions. And let's go ahead and step into this. child here. This is child 1. Score is 3.7. Look at that. That's interesting. Gives the first one. Okay, so let's see. .7. It looks like the second call to arm the mock evaluator overrides the first one. In other words, instead of the mock evaluator returning 2.5 when the first child is called and 3.7 when the second child is called, it is returning 3.7 both times. Why? Why is that? So I'm using the AI to increase my understanding. Instead of just telling it fix it, I'm saying I want to understand what the problem is. Okay. Okay, so it goes into a little bit more, and I'm pretty sure that that's correct. That it's saying, well, it looks like organism equals doesn't compare the IDs, which is correct. We don't want organism equals to compare IDs. We want it to compare chromosomes and genes. Organism equals, yeah. So now it's got better mocking behavior. Let's apply this. Accept. See if that works. This probably works. Ooh, still didn't work. Line 154. Oh, it's no. So I'll just copy this exception. When I ran that code. I got this exception. Okay. Okay, so let's try applying that. Only exchanges those two lines. Okay. Now will it run? Will it pass? Good. It passed. Okay. Excellent. We got one to pass. Now let's run the whole thing. It's going to have that other method fail. That worked. Test mutation. Cycle. Integration is also failing. Possibly the same reason. Here is the error message. Let's see what it does. And it has all the code, so it should be able to look at those files. Okay, so it's saying it when it mocked it out, it's adding those. When organism repository is not doing that. Okay. Okay, so it's adding more mock behavior complexity. Let's go ahead and apply that. Here it added behavior to the organism repository and scored organism repository. Let's see if that passes. So something I learned here is when I'm talking to the AI, and this is something I've learned other places, if you have an error message, give it the error message. That gives it necessary context and helps it to figure out what the problem is. So all of this is working. Now we'll try the build again. This will probably pass. Build successful. So go ahead and add everything in. Added the updates to experiment simple as described. Experimentation.md. Added a test for experiment impl. Commit and push. What are the warnings? Blast. Tools. Okay, so let's go through these. Okay. All right. The best scores. Burn. Push. Okay. What is the name of this branch? Experiment coordinator. Okay, good. So I have an experiment, and now I'm going next episode. That's it for this one. Next episode will be looking at the experiment coordinator, which will do an experiment run of several experiment cycles, and after that, I think I'll be ready to start with the controller for that, to expose an API for doing all of the experiment coordination. And once I have the controller, then I'll be able to start with the UI for the system. But that'll be a bit down the road. Thank you for your time.